but scientist is done by the people, the foot soldiers, which are the students. So I thought, we thought that we should have a meeting where the students, the people who actually slog it out in the labs, people who actually work. And by the way, I'm sure I'm trying to set up the tone, but I'm sure the students will also talk. If you look at the amount of, we had something called, this is very well known. There were this, people used to say this, May the Bosch. People want to say 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of entertainment, or, outdoor activity, freedom. But then, most of our PhD students actually spend 16 hours a day in the lab. And this they don't do for the small amount of fellowship which they get. This is which is non-commensurate with their work. They do it because they really genuinely want to have science and they really want to do it passionately. So I think we would like to listen to them and get their views, try to consolidate them, and then send them across to the Delhi, and then so that some of their aspirations and their aspersions both can be addressed. So with this small thought, I thought I will introduce our first guest, Professor Shankar Kumar Nath from the IIT Kharagpur. Professor Nath is a professor of geology and geophysics in IIT Kharagpur. He is one of the most distinguished geologists of this country. Professor Nath is a leading expert in earthquake and engineering seismology in India, and his research interests are mostly in seismic prospecting, computational seismology, computational geophysics, and geophysical tomography. He has been awarded the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in 2002, the National Mineral Award by the Ministry of Mines and Steel, and the Decennial Award by the Indian Geophysical Union, to name a few. There are several, so I think for the sake of brevity, I only mentioned few. He is, of course, a fellow of the National Academy of Science, Allahabad, the fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, and the fellow of the Geological Union of India. So with this very kind of brief introduction, let me request Professor Shankar Nath to share his views and to address the young gathering. And so I particularly like this gathering because the average age, if you take the kind of mean distribution of the age, you will actually find a lot of young people there. And as they say, if you travel with young people, you also become young. And I will not mention the vice versa of it. Right? So with these few words, I request Dr. Shankar Kumar Nath to share his views. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Datta. I would like to share a screen and then proceed with that. And I request you to allow me to do that.
Sure. Shivrasad ji.
Yes, you are a co-host now. You can share.
Shankar, you can share now.
I actually work in the extreme events as nonlinear process being perceived from initiation to societal and environmental impact with focus on earthquakes and landslides. So this is my total gamut of work which I have been doing for last almost, I should say, about 40 years. I have almost completed 40 years of my career. That includes about 10 years in industry. Actually, when we are talking about the natural and human-induced extreme events, we have the geohazard regime, where earthquakes, tsunamis, landslide, and mudslides are the ones which are most extreme events which are natural causes. Apart from this, we have the climatic hazards, industrial and other hazards, and also there are human induced extreme and terrorist activities, which is also a sort of a hazard. These are the different extreme events we have. The reason of showing this is that this is one of the most important domain of science, which is not very carefully thought of in our country. And we although have natural disaster mitigation and management policies, we do have the national hazard and mitigation centers almost in every state. And so pity that West Bengal, although I have been working with West Bengal government for quite a while, I have not seen any one of this is actively perceived and also is being actively pursued in its totality. Out of all these domains, we generally work in IIT Kharagpur. We have a center for, we call it a coral, Center for Land, River, Ocean, Climate and Atmospheric Interaction. And in geology, geophysics departments, so far as the natural hazard and disaster mitigation is concerned, I pursue both earthquake and landslide, and I am the only person who is an institution in the department working only in this aspect of it, because this is the societal need of this. Please, my friends, please keep in mind that this is one aspect which we have to think of very seriously when we're looking at the national policy for science and technology innovation, because this is well neglected in our country and we do suffer quite a lot. We are very much aware of what has been happening for the last decade. There has been devastations all around, from earthquake, from landslide, which is a perennial thing, and also we have the flash flood and other the thunderstorm, the cloud burst, and so on and so forth. These are the couple of things which this is the total context of the disaster scenario in our country. We have about 58% of the land area prone to earthquakes, of which 20% is vulnerable to severe earthquakes, 12% to flood, 8% to cyclone, 25% to landslide, 68% of the country is prone to drought in barren degrees, and 85% of the landslide is land area is vulnerable to the natural hazards, and a major disaster occurs almost every 2 to 3 years. More than 1 million houses damaged annually, along with the human and societal and other property losses. So this is out of out of all the states we have, about 22 states are prone to multi-hazard. They suffer from almost all kinds of hazard, including West Bengal, where we are dwelling at the moment. These are the seismic hazard scenario in our country. And in 2012, this is the last map which we produced, and this is the one which is being followed by the Ministry of Earth Sciences, Disaster Management Authority of India, and also the Ministry of Home Affairs and their Disaster Management Center. This is the map which is being used for seismic hazard microzonation, disaster modeling, the disaster mitigation and management protocol, and also for building an urban management, urban structure and urban construction practices. This is the scenario of our country, where we have about 11 tectonic blocks. All the tectonic blocks, like this is the tectonic block, which is a Bengal basin, is our domain. We are working in this. Then we have the Eastern Himalayan zone, which is seismically very, very active. Northeast India is one of the deadliest among the 5 most earthquake-prone countries in the world. Then we have Indo-Gangetic Four-Deep region that comprises of the cities of Varanasi, Kanpur, Lucknow. And here we have the Eastern Ghat Mobile Belt, the Western Ghat Mobile Belt, Koyana-Varnak region, where we have 1964 Koyana earthquake. Then Kutch, where 2001 Bhuj earthquake was, wreaked havoc, and we had huge casualty and also a lot of loss of property. Then this is the Central Himalayan zone, where Narmada Son lineament has given rise to Jabalpur earthquake. And then we are also aware of 1993 Latur earthquake that was one of the deadliest. And in the Himalaya, if we look at it, we have the Central Himalaya, which has the capability of giving rise to more than 9 magnitude earthquake, which is yet to come. We have 1906 Kangra earthquake, then Uttarkashi earthquake coming out here. Then at the same time, we also have the earthquakes coming in the neighboring Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, the Tibet, and on this side we have the Afghanistan, and other neighboring countries, including Sri Lanka. 2004, 26, 26 December, tsunami that was initiated from the Andaman, the island Nicobar, and on the Sumatra earthquake on this particular territory, that was one of the deadliest tsunami we ever had in the Indian Ocean for the first time that has been observed. And apart from this, we also have a couple of other deadliest earthquakes that has taken place. We have about 4 of them in the Northeast India. Then on the Himalayas, we have about 6 of them. The 1906, 1991, 1993, 1997, and so on and so forth. So this is the total domain where at the moment we are working. We have the capability of producing seismic hazard maps for about 64 cities, and almost 40 of them are the smart cities which have been declared by the Prime Minister of India, and they are already under the renovation. They are being reshaped, and we have also taken care of their infrastructure development and so on and so forth. As a chairman of the Strategic Planning Commission of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, this is my domain, and this is what I have been involved in. So for Kolkata, we have developed the seismic microzonation map. This is what has made me quite infamous in West Bengal Ministry, because once this got published, people were very scared about it, but this is the reality. We have the Salt Lake, the New Town, the Rajarhat, the new Kolkata domain, and the cultural domain of Kolkata. And apart from this, we also have some of the areas like which has been shown here in Howrah, in Jadavpur, some places here in the central Kolkata in Park Street area. These are all potentially liquefiable, and these are some of the deadliest zones where if we have a magnitude of 6 and 6.5, this is what we have expected to happen somewhere in the near field. Apart from these, all the bigger earthquakes which are occurring in the Himalayas, in Northeast India, they have also rocked West Bengal from time and again, especially Kolkata. So you know that urbanization is in full swing in Kolkata. Lots of high rises are coming. So if we do not take care of the proper urban development and the building protocol, we are calling trouble for ourselves, and this is going to be devastating terrain, and we have to safeguard this. So this is what we are doing at the moment for the entire country, and also we have shared our expertise with neighboring countries, because I also act as United Nations advisor for seismic hazard microzonation for the South Asian countries, including Bangladesh, because we have been working for Dhaka, Chattogram, Mymensingh, and in Pakistan for Karachi, Rawalpindi. And so these are some of the work which I have been working on. And this is the probabilistic seismic socio-economic risk zone of Kolkata. You can see the red zones are the ones which are socio-economically under high risk zones. These are some of the damage potential modeling which we have done, and this is in place with us. If an earthquake occurs anywhere, immediately we run this code for that particular magnitude of earthquakes, and immediately we get the devastations, what has happened, and this helps us in deciding what exactly we are going to do about reaching the aids, relief, rehabilitation, and relocation of the inhabitants from the disaster devastated zone to the other areas. We are also aware, for once we run this code, which are the roads and which are the terrains which are open, and these are not totally rocked by the earthquakes. Even after the landsliding and all, these are open, and these are the areas from which we can take the relief material and reach them. So these are some of the things, and this is the disaster management model which I have given to this is the protocol which has been developed by us as a consortium of IIT Kharagpur, Shibpur, Beshu, which is now an NEIST, and also a part of the West Bengal disaster management, which is involved, and National Disaster Management Authority and the Ministry of Earth Sciences, all of them are involved in this. So this is the protocol which has been used, and this is what has been accepted for South Asian countries. And this is one thing which is the domain where I will have been talking, and this is the domain which is my domain in the national policy for the science, technology, and innovation. So this is one of the innovation which we are doing, and this is in a part of our technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship domain. So this is the gamut of the work which I do, so you understand what is my expertise and what I am doing, because this is the first time we are meeting. So you should understand what this person is doing. So, and then I basically open up the discussion. The discussion is science, technology, and innovation, which is emerging as a new power equation in the global order. We know that the knowledge economy is the paradigm which is the domain of discussion of this evening. Is that what I am correctly opening up, Professor Datta? Is this okay? I am just opening up the discussion now, okay? Because this is the forum, right? So I gave a small background of what I do, and then what exactly where I do fit in, and then I proceed into this, and then we have a discussion on the second panelist and proceed on this. So I'll just give me 5-6 minutes so that I can just open up the discussion here. These are India's relative position now. Sector search, scholarship-driven science. We have a good return for dollar and people invested. Relative position does not match talent pool on account of low investments and poor absorption capacity. Competitive position is improving though. Market-driven technology is another thing, which is where India is also having a value addition to new raw materials through technology and competitive trade in lower than optimum. Stronger coupling between the technology and trade is necessary, which is not happening at the moment. This synergy is not very good for us at the moment. So this is where we have to strengthen. Competition-driven innovation ecosystem is relatively weak on account of mismatch of development and absorption and poor risk-bearing capacity in the manufacturing systems. Incremental rather than leapfrog innovation is focused. So therefore, we have to talk about sort of a holistic development in this domain. This is one thing we should keep in mind, and I request all of you to have a focus on this. Status of the mind in market chain in India's knowledge infrastructure is in education infrastructure, which is quite wide and developed. This is one domain which we are very strong. Research infrastructure is well developed at the moment and merits are widening. Innovation infrastructure is also pretty good. Technology infrastructure is growing tremendously. Industrial infrastructure needs backing of innovation infrastructure, which is not happening in the moment. Most of the technology is being transferred, is being imported. So therefore, this is where we have to play a vital role. These are some of the innovation funnel, which if we are looking at, these are the things which need our focus. Industry sector profit generation through leveraging innovations, which is a profiting idea. Working ideas should be coming from research sector, quality addition to ideas and innovations through risk reduction. Workable ideas should come from academic sector, risky and
Shankarda, by mistake, you have been muted.
Shit. Is it okay now? Can you hear me?
Sure.
So investing into innovations in India's lessons are, we have passion-driven pursuit, inherent creativity and capacity to innovate. Innovation as side product of personal passions, largely supported by public funds. Innovation purpose, which is purpose-driven pursuit. Innovation infrastructure through planned and strategic innovations, public-private partnership. Then we have a people-centric pursuit, which comes from integrated infrastructure for people-centric innovation landscape to induce the excluded through technology, social innovations that serve the needs of 4 billion global citizens. This is very emphatic. Innovation for global competition for high growth economies with large societal security system and high per capita nations. The private sector driven and public sector facilitation. This is a competition driven pursuit. So this is why India's innovation and India's lessons, which we have to keep in mind when we go for further discussion on this. Then comes, oh God, it's not. This is how do we nourish our innovative market through the mind of market chain. This is the societal, this is science, technology, and innovation landscape, which comes from a confidence building, government material driven decentralized sector. Commercialization is another very important thing. Generation of industry, market driven, technology driven generation of the industry. Then consultations, generation industry through innovative driven technologists, consolidation, so the scientists of academy, creation and students. So all these are coming in with satisfaction, scouting, and synergy, and seeking selection and strategies, and all will be having a societal network of intelligent marketing, intelligent manufacturing, innovative network, the innovator and the inspired, which will give rise to inspired research. Innovator will go for risk reduction. Innovator network will go for revalidation. Intelligent manufacturer will go for resource addition, and they will address the resource. Intelligent marketing will go for resource utilization. So this is the landscape which probably we are looking at, which has got an R&D the entity, and also we have soft money financing and hard money financial societal aspect of it. And then we have what is the Indian challenge for bridging the social capital based on trust and risk preparedness, fostering viable and sustainable innovation partnerships within the mine to market chain, and financing innovation. This is one of the most challenging aspect in bridging the societal capital based on trust and risk preparedness. And this is one thing which needs a huge discussion and focus. And when we look at the transaction model, there is a counter current flow for these knowledge flow direction. And this is a relationship model with a co-current flow of money and knowledge, money flow direction from use societal sector to manufacturing sector, and then going for knowledge academic sector to show how innovation sector, then societal sector to manufacturing sector, knowledge academic sector to show how innovation sector. So this is one of the synergy which is very important, and this is how the transaction model should work, and counter flow of the money and knowledge should be joined together. What is the model of next generation innovation? What is India's chance? Innovations are required in the country for creating a favorable ecosystem. There are some global models available. The governance models adopted in most of the research establishment of the country, whether they are supported by within the public or private sector funding, require a revisit. And this is very, very crucial. Synergies and partnerships are essential elements of a rightly positioned research support system focused on innovations. India needs the next generation model for innovation support. India enjoys an advantage for cost optimization of the innovations, and this may well be a dying advantage at the moment. A 10-year time frame may be all that India may enjoy for leveraging the current expertise arbitrage. Designing an Indian-ish model for affordable innovations there is now an opportunity to reassert ourselves among the Committee of Nations by designing a system which includes the excluded and reach the unreached through the innovation for the affordable innovations. This is very important. Social and public good would call for new models of collaboration between the public and private sector. While fostering such collaborations, the needs and benefits to the ultimate user of research products, namely the people of India, should become the major focus. The partnership needs to be built on the strength of mutual trust and respect, where individual egos exist and the public and social cause prevail. This civilization called India is too good to remain a mere observer in the realm of global development through innovations. So we need to break the ice and surge ahead. So this is what is the STIP 2020, Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2020, which is the focus of the discussion. It is a milestone moment for India's science, technology and innovation ecosystem, as the information of 5th National Science, Technology, Innovation Policy 2020 is in full swing, and this is under huge development. The formulation of the new policy is initiated jointly by the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor and the Department of Science and Technology. At the moment, the Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, is my friend, he is the co-Bhatnagar awardee of 2002, and we all, both of us, we got the award simultaneously. He got it in engineering sciences, and I am one of the co-hosts in this discussion. The science policy, now the formulation of the new policies are on these major issues. Number one, the science policy, which was due to a resolution taken in 1958, it was aimed at fostering and promoting and sustaining the cultivation of science and scientific research in all its aspects. This was 1958's policy. The technology policy statement in 1983, which emphasized the need to attain technological competence and self-reliance with the objective to integrate program of socio-economic sectors with the national R&D system and the creation of a national innovation system. The science and technology policy of 2003, which brought the benefits of science and technology to the forefront and also focused on the investment required for science and development along with the national innovation system. The Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2013, which focused on the large demographic dividend and set the paradigm of science and technology innovation for the people for the first time in 2013 itself. So therefore, we had this is the fifth policy coming up after 1958. And what is the rationale of this? As the country is now going through the COVID-19 crisis, the landmark policy initiative has been flagged by the government of India, and this is being formulated at a crucial juncture where the India and the world are tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. As the pandemic is going on for a new normal paradigm, the policy aims to reorient science and technology in terms of proprietors, sectorial focus and strategies. It is one of the most significant events amidst many important changes in the past decades that have necessitated the formulation of a new outlook and strategy for science, technology, and innovation. This policy is the culmination of the new perspectives and reform that addresses India's science, technology, and innovation. The core vision of STIP 2020 is the decentralization of the policy, designing by making it a bottom-up system and inclusive process. It aims to realign priorities, sectorial focus, and methods of research and technology development with the goals of larger socio-economic progress. And it has adopted 4 policy processes. The track 1 is the one wherein the extended public and expert consultation is proceeding. In track 2, the thematic group consultation is proceeding. There are about 21 thematic groups. I will mention them. In track 3, ministries and the state consultations are proceeding. And in track 4, apex level multi-stakeholder consultation is in progress. And the deadline for this is November 2020, by which it is supposed to be tabled and to the cabinet for discussion. Then these are the 21 strategic groups which is discussed, which has the modalities going on and the domain on access to knowledge and resources. Number 1, agriculture, water, and food security is the second one, which is being headed by PP Majumdar of ISA Bangalore. Capacity development is another one. Data and regulatory framework, disruptive and futuristic technologies. Education is another one, which is very important. Energy, environment, and climate change is the other where I fit in. I am a member of that group. The health, then we have entrepreneurship, equity and inclusion is the other one. Financing STI, health, innovation, international science and technology engagement, and STI diplomacy. Mega sciences, which is under which takes care of the nuclear, the development, nuclear technology, the energy and other sectors, which are the most nanotechnology, nanoscience, and so on. Policy and program linkages, the research in an international lineage, STI governance, STI policy governance, strategic technologies, sustainable technologies, and system interconnectedness. These are the 21 strategies where the discussion is going on in full swing. And these are some, this is a framework of the national policy on the international domain. I thought I'll just put it for your perusal on science and technology and innovation as NPSTI, which is in vogue in some of the South Asian countries. A high income, inclusive and sustainable nation perceives a scientifically advanced socio-economic transformation and inclusive growth, advancing and mainstreaming STI at all levels and in all sectors of advancing science, scientific and societal research, development and commercialization. Second strategy is the development, harnessing and intensifying the talent. Third strategy is the energizing the industries. Fourth is transformation of STI governance, promoting and sensitizing STI, enhancing strategic international alliances. STI for policy and policy for STI is another very important issue. Industry commitment for STI. We know that without industry backup, we cannot come up with any particular, we cannot come to a level. STI governance is very, very important. It should be transparent. STI for stable, peaceful, prosperous, cohesive, and resilient society. And then these are the couple of things which I thought of just putting it as just in one-liner. Gross expenditure in R&D, at least for 2% growth by 2020 has to be there on the GDP. Enhance and the performance of public and private R&D and C funding. Improve the delivery of STI system. Enhance commercialization and increase uptake of the homegrown RDI, R&D innovative products through clear guidelines and standard compliance. Intensify the integration of societal sciences and humanities with pure and applied sciences. Increase the ratio of researchers for per 10,000 workforce to at least 70 to 100 by 2020. Develop higher order cognitive, analytical, creative, and innovative skills among school children, tertiary level students and teachers. This is very, very important. Introduce, we have to bring it to the grassroots level. Introduce new innovative skills in the workforce to advance the nation's STI capabilities. Intensify STI's brain gain and brain circulation. Enhance technique and the management system to track supply and demand of skilled human capital in STI. Develop a dynamic career path for researchers in public research institutions and institutions of higher learning like IITs and all. Promote and enhance meaningful, effective, and equitable female participation in STI at all levels and in all sectors. Increase skilled and competent technical workforce to manage, operate, and maintain highly specialized equipment and infrastructure. Maintain a minimum R&D expenditure ratio between private and public sector. Develop enterprises with distinctive capabilities. Initiate extensive review of fiscal and financial incentives to promote industry innovation, particularly among small and medium enterprises. Stimulate and facilitate the private sector to undertake R&D and C, and engage industry association and strengthen networking to co-create STI programs and activities. Develop new approaches to enhance knowledge transfer to industry from PRIs, IHLs, government organizations, and regional corridor development agencies. Formulate and implement an inclusive innovation roadmap to address the concerns and needs of the excluded, including the disadvantaged and low-income group. This is totally neglected as of now. Encourage social, grassroots, and promoter-driven innovation. Enhance industry-driven collaboration and partnership. Enhance innovation and inculcate risk-taking culture among entrepreneurs to accelerate R&D commercialization. Formulate a Science and Technology and Innovation Act for orderly implementation of the National STI Agenda of in 2013 to 2020. Now we have to augment it, and we have to strengthen it. We have to augment it, and we have to reformulate it. Strengthen and streamline the STI-related councils. Transform and enhance PRI governance to ensure efficient management and effective implementation of their core functions. Provide greater autonomy to public and private IHLs and PRIs to spur industry collaboration and entrepreneurship. Incorporate societal norms, ethical and moral values in the advancement of science. Encourage IHLs and PRIs to comply with the intellectual property commercialization policy for R&D projects funded by the government. transform existing science and technology information centers to become more effective, innovate and improve public sector delivery system, and finally establish an advisory body to guide STI public awareness and promotions, expand and empower science centers to popularize and sensitize STI in society, promote STI among school children, among professional bodies and science-oriented societies, conduct outreach programs to raise awareness on ethics and humanities in society. So, and improve R&D and C ecosystem to attract global partners, nurture domestic talents to enable organizations and industries to penetrate global markets, develop partners, allies, and channels in key destination countries, establish go global market strategies for homegrown STI products, including market access, business intelligence, etc., strengthen marketing and development of global brands, continuous improvement has to be there in monitoring and evaluation, intensify domestic and international network for research collaboration, strategic partnership, and business relationships. So with this, I give my views, and this is what I keep the ball rolling for the discussion for you. And if anything I can further elaborate on, I'll be very happy about it. Thank you very much for inviting me to put my view on this. I give thanks to all my the colleagues and my dear students and friends who have joined this group today for this meeting, and so that we have a very specific discussions and come up with some sort of recommendations to be passed on to Delhi, to the concerned authority, so that this goes to the stakeholders and go for further debate, and our ideas get included in the and get inculcated while framing up the issues towards the policy frame. Thank you so much. I appreciate your patient hearing and your kind attention. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Shankarnath. Thanks a lot for a very detailed and a scientific presentation. I mean, that is very important, because it is very important to talk with data. And thank you very much. So, Professor Nath, should we have the way we have planned? We will also have a, we will also have a small discussion with Professor Debasis Chatterjee.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
then we will open the session for
discussion. Yes.
And then you can alternatively take questions from the students.
Yes, sure. It will be a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. So our next expert today is Professor Debasis Chatterjee. Professor Debasis Chatterjee is an emeritus professor in Kalyani University and is a leading scientist of arsenic contamination in the groundwater in India. I mean, we know this the delta. The Gangetic deltas of Bengal and Bangladesh have this huge problem of arsenic, and he has been a kind of a highly vocal in the kind of and also led to a change in the policies of the government on how to deal with it. And Professor Chatterjee has been a member of the arsenic task force of the government of West Bengal and a visiting professor to several international universities like KTH Stockholm, University of Manchester, and the University of Girona. His research interests are in geochemistry, water purification, hydrogeology, and safe drinking water supply. His work on arsenic-free water supply in Bengal villages has been highly acknowledged across the board. Particularly, his work on the identification of arsenic hotspots in the Gangetic deltas has been published in several journals, including the most reputed scientific journal of the world, Nature. So with this very brief introduction, I request Professor Debasis Chatterjee to kindly share his views.
Many thanks to Dr. Ayan Datta for his excellent introductory remark. And I'm also very much thankful Professor Nath for his elaborated discussion. We said already have enough food for thought. I will make some few points regarding 2020. In fact, the India is looking for the 5 trillion economy, and which is our goal to meet the global competitiveness. We are presently in 2 trillion, and our next aim is how we can increase our economy by twofold at least within 5 years. In this context, science and technology policy, so that in near future we will be the strongest economic power in the world. In this context, there is a two approach. One is what we should do in short term, that is 5 years, and how we can get it in long term. That should be sustainable and at par with SDG goals. In this context, we have to see how we can do the needful with regard to sectorial growth. For example, manufacturing sectorial, agriculture sectorial, and service sectorial. Hopefully you know that these sectors are important because they are contributing largely on our GDP growth. For example, service sector is contributing here about 50% of the GDP, and by and large, and about 30 to 35% GDP contribution from manufacturing and agriculture. So therefore, we have to divide the sectorial growth, policy and planning so that we can achieve this 5 trillion economy, which is in fact the actual goal for Atmanirbhar Bharat or Swadeshi Bharat. In this context, the basic goal should be how the state industry, manufacturing sector, and the indigenous technology has to be developed to cater the society, industry, as well as the economic growth of the country. Hopefully, you are agree with me regarding the development of the industrial country and the gap with the Indian country. Recently, if you see the data, that the industrial country had 17.3 trillion economic growth, whereas India is only 3.86% of this trillion growth, where China is 26.24% of the growth. So that should be our goal with regard to Made in India policy, which has already been done by the China long back in 2015 as in Made in China. The issue is how we can make a very strong manufacturing industrial power, and that is actually the main important issue with regard to the national prosperity and economic growth. For example, the recent data shows that the patent, industrial design, transferring fee, technology transferring fee, and the initiative for innovations, all these factors are contributing towards the national growth, and the Indian contribution is far behind with regard to the international scenario. One of the major issues is that our universities are not very much linked with, at least from last 60 years, with respect to the research, which can be translatory in nature and which can also contribute to the GDP growth. So therefore, this is the need of the day, that how we can accelerate our research, which should be productive and give us particular growth with regard to the GDP. For example, what is the basic lacuna in our system? That one of the major important issue is that we have very low amount of collaborative research as well as competitive collaborative research. And this particular two important issue, that collaborative research and comparative collaborative research, could be give us a new dimension with regard to national policy, particularly with the indigenous policy issue. For example, if you can consider, particularly with regard to the national interest, that from 1990 after the globalization, we are importing a large amount of instrument throughout the globe. But however, we are very much put forward our energy, our expertise, our innovation, our knowledge to develop our own instrumentation. This is a particular field where we must have the collaborative research as well as very much competitive research. And this should be done at least a good collaboration in between university, national institute, as well as industry. There could be possibilities that those who are the expertise from industry and national institute, those who can be recognized as a good scientist, they can be invited to the university at least for one semester, at least within at least one time in 5 years, so that they can develop their expertise, they can interact with the student, they can deliver the laboratory-based experimental setup, so that students can really be benefited with those scientists' knowledge, which will ultimately in long term give the nation more benefit towards innovation. As discussed by the previous speaker, that today is the knowledge-based country. If you have the knowledge power, if you have the knowledge base, if you have the knowledge domain, both in sunrise technology, like machine learning, like biotechnology, like solar energy, and as well as to solve our own problems like environment, ecology, road making, etc., then only we can have a good picture in our future to build up the nation. In this context, the 3E is more important, which is generally known as economy, robust ecology, and ethics. If you put together and blend it very importantly, then we can have a good future, particularly where knowledge-based society can be developed, and that can give us a more impetus for particularly building up nation and 5 trillion technology. And in this context, we have several scopes that can be nourished in near future. For example, now we are much dependent on international communities for basic medicinal ingredients. Even for small paracetamol, which is very important in this pandemic situation, that the basic ingredient, we have to mostly import from China. So in this context, we have to come together. We have to build up our collaborative thinking, which must be a multidisciplinary in nature, so that we can build up our own system, our own technology, our own effort to build up such ingredient so that nation should not depend on import. On the other hand, the material science or development of material science and understanding with the new materials that can be very much useful for the future. For example, we all know the graphene is nowadays but more important, particularly application in various type of microchips. And this graphene can be now be produced, particularly from biosource. And that has to be developed so that these microchips can be developed in our own system, which can be utilized for industrial production. Similarly, lithium is also an important issue, and we should come forward so that the source of lithium either are inland or non-inland, that is ocean. This source has to be explored so that we can have a good lithium resource, which is now a predominant role in strategic planning, particularly as a strategic metal. The nodules, sea nodules, where manganese is also importantly we have discovered. Similarly, there could be a good possibility that lithiums can also be found out in the ocean, where lithiums can be extracted more easily, particularly all those plant materials which are in the marine belt, where high concentration of lithium is generally found. So this could be a good resource in our near future. At the end, I should mention that to build up this 5 trillion economy, we should stand up our own feet and we should come forward for multidisciplinary research, collaborative research, as well as competitive research, which will give us more milestone and the footprint so that this will definitely put forward India in a more stronger economical position. Finally, we all know that once India, particularly the ancient India, is very strong with regard to the iron melting and its technology. India is also know how to extract zinc in a very long time ago. So this technological background should be built up so that we can have a more better future to give a good success with Atmanirbhar Bharat and Swadhinbhar Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you, Debashish Da. Thanks a lot for your views. And now I think we will not wait further, and we will ask the students to kind of they can raise their hands and then switch on unmute themselves and then ask their question. But for the sake of brevity, I request the students to keep their questions short and brief, and then we will, so that we allow maximum people to participate. Thank you very much. So you can also write your questions in the chat box. Okay, we have a question from a colleague of Professor Shankar Kumar Nath. He is Mr. Somnath Ghoshal from IIT Kharagpur. So I think we should ask this question. We should transfer this question to Debashish Da if his network works, because otherwise people will say that we are doing it in the same institute.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Somnath.
Yeah, I just have a question, for most of our PhD scholars who are in second year, third year, it's not very clear to them that how they can reason their requirement-based research, like reasoning the requirement-based research. And this total idea, how they can connect with the grassroots level demand, the grassroots level requirements. So reasoning the requirement-based research and connecting that research with the requirements of the grassroots level people. I think if we can do that, if we can start thinking in that direction, many problem issues that are rising through this 2020 policy, coming out, can be addressed to a great extent. So if you kindly can can, share your views how this reasoning-based reasoning the requirement-based research can be brought to the students who are at the very early stage of their PhD research. Thank you so much, Professor Chatterjee.
Hello.
Hi, yes. So the question is, Professor Chatterjee, the question is, I mean, if I can make it more concise for you, I mean, the world is changing very fast, and if we have a requirement, I mean, a problem, a specific problem, and how can the PhD students try to address it in their own PhD, within their PhD time frame? But this is a very difficult question because I mean, PhD is not a, I mean, PhD is a time bound problem, and so by the time the problem emerges, the student might be already ready with his thesis. So this is more a kind of a, I mean, what we say in basic science, it kind of, people try to change their problems in their first postdoc, second postdoc, and so on. So I think, on the contrary, I would say that this is a problem which the guide should address in their problems. Because it is too much for the PhD students to identify a local problem which is emerging in that area and to orient their PhD according to the requirement. I mean, generally, so that is in my opinion, I shared my view. So I think it is too much to expect from a PhD student.
Hello.
Yes, Debasis.
Hi. Can I go now?
Yes, please.
In fact, if we can, because our today's discussion is mostly focused on West Bengal. So, for example, in West Bengal, with the manufacturing industry, if you see, we have various type of cluster-based industry in West Bengal, starting from North Bengal to particularly to up to the Bay of Bengal. The most brilliant example is Howrah. So Howrah has a one time, they have a very good industrial backup with regard to the basic manufacturing, particularly various type of annealing, forging, machining, hopping. So various type of practice are going on. But nowadays, this has been a little bit eroded. So how the modern technology, for example, the machine learning method, the quality-based product, and particularly the utilization, optimum utilization of raw material that can be give you more optimal cost for the product. That can be one of the examples that has to be carried out. Particularly in South Bengal, in North Chobis Pargona and a part of the South Chobis Pargona, there is a several type of orthopedic instruments are manufactured in a very local village level. So how this technology, particularly we know a part of the Pakistan where they are similar technology they are developing, but they are now have a very good high technological backup with collaboration with regard to the various European countries. So how this particularly cluster-based manufacturing industry in West Bengal can be brought up, that could be one of the basic issue. Similarly, if you move to the Malda Murshidabad, we have various type of bronze-based or particularly copper-based utensil industry, cluster industry that has to be built up.
Thank you.
And similarly, we can give another example. Very recently, there is some work has been done with respect to the plum, Bangladesh আমরা তাল বলি, from plum, how we can generate alcohol or how we can generate acetic acid, one step or two-stage fermentation. So this type of need-based, which is particularly grassroots level need-based industry, that has to be developed. Finally, first of all, we have to make a particular industrial development map for West Bengal, particularly with regard to the need of the local people. And then only we can make some breakthrough research how this particular grassroots level industry can be brought up to the national and finally in international level.
Thank you, Debasis. We have a question from Mr. Deepak Kumar Singh. Deepak, can you please?
Yes, sir. Is it audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Good evening to both the speakers and others. So, as sir has already mentioned that India is struggling to be a 5 trillion economy, and you have already pointed out that agriculture sector is including like it is giving around 15%, though manufacturing it is giving around 29 or 30%, and service sector it is giving around 50%. But if we are seeing that agriculture it is giving a 60% employment but only 14% contribution to the GDP. I think this is the biggest problem, because we have to minimize this gap. To be without doing this, we cannot be a 5 trillion economy, because most of the farmers or most of the population of the country it is employed in agriculture. So what means from the government side or as a researcher also, what can we do to minimize this gap? And one more question I have, that why government is not forcing or doing anything like to for industry based research, like in what is happening in every central institute. Like there are so many national institutes, but those institutes they are not targeting the national problem. Like as we have to do PhD, so we are doing on any topic, whatever it is easy, we are focusing on that. So I think if anything like based on industry problems, then it will be fruitful to country and it will be fruitful to the institute also. So these are the two problems. What can we do, or what can the government can do, and what is it, if anything is already happened, then what is it? So guide me. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so maybe request Shankarda to address his question. So let me consolidate his questions. The first question which is asking is, agriculture is labor intensive, but in terms of the return, I mean, if I can use that word, we are all using it, ROI, return on investment, is not much. Return on investment of the manpower. I mean, in terms, a lot of people are being employed, but they are not being paid well. So that is the first question. And the second question which he has is, how do we make research across the academic institution more industry oriented?
The, the first question related to the agriculture, we know that we are all surviving on it. We all know it. This is the most, what should I say, this is the paradox of our life, that the agriculture on which all of us are surviving, this is the most neglected sector and which has not been given much of attention. And the agricultural economy and the agriculturists and also the farmers are not being uplifted the way they should have been. The reason of doing this is because there is a intermediate or what should we say, the mediators, the persons who take the commodities from the farmers, and they take the huge share of this, and the remaining whatever comes back to the farmers from the market. This goes to almost to 5 to 10% to what has been produced. So unless and until this mediation group or the middleman, what we call this middleman or the wholesaler market is not, I mean, abolished, and the farmers are not given direct access to their commodity and they're marketing it of their own. And I think there should have been a sort of a council who should have been looking for the local. This should have been everywhere in all the sectors and all the district level, or maybe even to the village level. If we put a council which does, say for example, if you remember, we earlier used to have collect milk, and the milk used to, and there was a revolution on the milk. Exactly the same thing has to be done, and take the farmers, bring their commodity directly to the council and sell through the council, and they get that benefited directly without having a middleman working for them and taking the major share. So unless and until they are answerable, and at the same time they should have been given in the updated the agriculture equipment, and most of them, they are still using primitive technology for harvesting. Most of them, they don't even have tractors. And so therefore, this has to be community-based, council-based, and at the grassroots level management of the agriculture. And the agriculturists have a direct interface with the district authority through their the council. And so it has to be properly framed. You have a village to the district, and then district takes it to the state level, and then it goes to the center. So this is there is a gap between the central autonomy and also the monitoring that goes on, and the middleman who takes the major share, almost a 70 to 80% share they take, and the ones who are working in the field day and night, and they get only peanuts of this. So therefore, motivation of cultivation and motivation for from farming is going up, and most of them are even migrating to the, you know that a lot of the farmers' sons, their next generation or their second or third generation, they're coming back to the city for looking for jobs. So there is a migration from this village to the city for soft jobs, and that is another problem, because we are having a generation gap, and there is no imparting of the knowledge from one generation to another. So it is not going generation by generation. So there are problems, and these problems, unless and until this is being countered, this is being solved, and the farmers are not given their given proper merit, and they don't get their pride. This is going to happen because their next generations are all, they become they get opposed to going for farming, and they look for easy money and go to the city, and they finally migrate out, and they are the people who are the contract laborers during this pandemic. They all were the migrant laborers who were coming from different cities, and the way they got devastated during this the transportation process. So this is one big issue. I think the middleman has to be removed. The councils are to be formed. The district authorities should directly monitor, and there has to be district to city monitoring, and then the state to the center has to be. So this has to be done, and there has to be direct access for this. Is so far as the agriculture is concerned. So this is a major issue. This should be taken into consideration, and also they should be given modern equipments, and they should be also given counseling to use the modern equipment, modern farming machinery. And we have so many pioneering institutions. We have even in some of the IITs, we have agriculture engineering department, but I don't see much of interface with the agriculturists and our academicians going to them and giving them the latest technology, latest science, and how they can, instead of having only 3 crops, how they can enhance it to 5 crops, 6 crops, 7 crops per year. And so these are a couple of things. So we have a problem of interfacing. We have a problem of interconnectivity. And I think we have to go to the village. We cannot expect the farmers to come to us. So, and in other words, it has to be a grooming of the farmers to come to the modern level, and they make you make them answerable for their own things. And, or in other words, there is a direct connectivity between the farmers and the government machinery, their modernization of their tools, and so on and so forth. So therefore, this is a very big issue. And if we have to become independent or Atmanirbhar Bharat, so this is one thing which has to be looked into very, very carefully. And the second issue is the current technology-oriented research. See, I started my job in oil industry after I graduated. I am an example of what is happening. I started in 1981. There was an oil boom. There was a huge, job opportunities, ONGC, Oil India, and all the oil sectors were booming. And we were a huge investigation and prospecting going on. slowly and slowly, we got virtually oversaturated with the oil production, and the whole oil goes from gets from the Gulf country. It was and the OPEC countries who control the petrodollar, it started falling down because we have a more production than the requirement. So once this has started happening, the production has stopped, exploration has stopped. Then suddenly we started having earthquakes coming in. So the technology is same, the the theoretical developments are same, the physics and mathematics, everything is same, the technology is also same. Then we started working in how we should make our country more resilient, our community more resilient, how the urban has to be more resilient to earthquakes, the disasters, and the other natural disasters and all. So from oil, we come to the natural disaster management, mitigation, and other things. So, and also if you see the other aspects of it, we are slowly going into nanotechnology and using nanosensors in all our machines, all our sensors, which were earlier huge, and also their the response spectra was not white. And once we started using the nano sensors, which have a huge frequency response characteristics, and they were big frequency response criteria and the phase and the response characteristics. So therefore, it becomes easier to handle those, and the machinery becomes much more cheaper, and they have a fantastic international marketing also. So therefore, if you look at all this, we had a thin film in physics, we have a thick film in physics. Then now the people are working in nanoscience and nanotechnology. I don't think there is a much of requirement or much of research going on in thin and thick film, even in IITs as I see them. People are more going into nanosensor, nanotechnology, and other issues. So therefore, as the technology gets progressing, the research goals are also changing. Research problems are also changing. I don't think we are doing any classical research anymore nowadays. And you being Professor Datta, you belong to cultivation of science, where you do a lot of classical and fundamental science. We don't do that anymore. We do more of observational and more of applied sciences. And if you see all the Nobel Prizes are coming in physics, chemistry, even in medicine, all of them are not on a fundamental or classical research anymore. They are all on observational science, on observational research and applications which are happening. This year also the Bhatnagar Award, awards which have been given, and I was in one of the committees. We have been looking into more of the applications because we did not have much of fundamental science coming up, and probably there is nothing much left out at the moment to do. People are going in a shortest route to apply something, get some good results out of it, and observe some new characteristics or attributes. And through this data and attribution, they try to get and harness some different domain of science and try to open up more perspectives. So this is what is happening. I think the PhD or the research goals are now decided wherever from you get money. Say, for example, now in biosciences, people have to do research on COVID. So if you work on COVID, they will get funding. And unless until they get fund, how will you, and the institutions do not have a much fund for research. You have to earn your own money. If you have to publish a paper, you have to have a lot of data backup. You have to do a lot of analysis. You need a supercomputational time which has to be purchased. So everything is market oriented, everything is technology oriented, and the technology driven and the advancements. And I think all the pioneering institutions and the institutions of eminence, they are always maneuvering on the changes in the technology and the perspective of science and technology, and that's how they are going. I think there is no problem in this so far as if now somebody wants to do a classical research, probably the IITs will not be the right place to do fundamental or classical research. They have to again be looking for going into TIFR or IISCs where there's still some the fundamental research or classical research is still going on, because I have some couple of my colleagues who are still doing it. But as the trend goes for the last 10 years, if you see all the global scientific publications which are coming in, whether it is in Science, Nature, or in all the high impact factor journals, they're all on data driven and observation driven, and not on fundamental research, which used to be on pen and pencil kind of thing anymore. So I think I have given a couple of my ideas, and I think we are going with the advancements in science and technology. As the technology is advancing, science is also opening up its perspective accordingly. Okay, and trying to match up with this. So thank you very much. I think I could give some roundabout way of answering the questions to my young friend.
Thank you, Professor Nath. And do we have any other questions? I mean, Pradipta, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I had a question basically during this COVID situation. Everybody getting me?
Yeah.
Can you keep your question brief? And of course, I will my, the experts to keep their answers even briefer. I think we have kept the both the experts hold on for a very long time. I think we will soon call it a day. Sure, Pradipta.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. People have had a good talk, obviously. I have a basic question. During this COVID situation, health sector in India, there is a good chance of booming in health sector. And my question is that what will be the role of translational researcher in this section? That means to boom the health-related industry in India. And what will be the role of government for the encouragement of industrial research in this area? Thank you.
Okay, so I mean, maybe I will answer for this a part of it at least. See, I mean, it is not right to say that we are not doing anything, because as you know, India is the largest producer of APIs, I mean, active pharmaceutical industries in the world. This is without even the new STIP. So, I mean, it's not, so India is actually very big. I mean, India is also one of the largest developers, low-cost developers of vaccines in the world. I mean, the Poonawalla company, I mean, you know, there is a company in Poonawalla, I mean, in Pune by this gentleman Poonawalla, which actually can make 10 million vaccines a dose for any drug. So I think you are right. We can give highly efficient, high quality, efficient drugs, vaccines, and provide them at good cost. In fact, most of the generic medicines in the world are made in India, even now. So I think there is a lot of scope, particularly, but then the issue is to maintain the international standards.
Yeah.
And we have to make the international standards, and our things have to come to that standards. So for that matter, I think there will be a lot of opening in the future, in the next 5-10 years, where we even don't need PhD students. I mean, MTech or MSc people can, there will be a lot of jobs in, I mean, this is like manufacturing of APIs and vaccines. But yeah.
In the next couple of months, the market will be flooded with COVID vaccine. There is already a competition going on between France, Russia, China, and America to come up with this, and Russia has already started giving it. So,
and giving, and probably India will manufacture it for Russia.
Probably, because they are trying to harness it from India. That's what is a deal which is I think already signed actually.
And it is much more cheaper to source it from India rather than to make it themselves. So that
Absolutely.
Right.
Even the hydroxychloroquine we made for America and gave them, of which Donald Trump took a couple of courses, but he contracted COVID, unfortunately, before his election.
That's right.
Even though he will win handsomely.
Okay, maybe the last question, Mr. Anand Shankar Das. Can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Good, sir. Actually, I have a question that many of the scientist posts are from BARC or maybe DRDO are going to mostly BTech students through GATE. And I think research scholars are more expense on this. And apart from that, many of the students are doing interdisciplinary courses such as nanotechnology, microbiology, life science. So these things, what happened in later stage, they can't apply for this lecture post in colleges. And that is also a problem because the government institutes are not coping up with new eligibilities actually.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
What can be done on this?
Shankarda.
Actually, this is a very serious policy issue, you know. The government has to, as I was just giving a reply to an earlier question. See, we have to update ourselves to the new technology and new domain of science that is opening up in front of all our young mind, and they want to get into this because their look up is not the government colleges. They look up to the international domain, and they want to play in the international domain of science. And they obviously, whoever is going to BARC and DRDO, they are not going to be joining the government colleges through Public Service Commission or UPSC. Their goal is MIT, Stanford, and Princeton. They are not going to be. They are not going to do nanoscience and all. For if you do only BSc Physics or math, and a standard masters and probably a doctorate, you can get into any of the universities whichever is available in our country, including the central universities. None of them are coping up with the international the standard of science and technology. The science and technology is going through a huge boom of advancement. And all these, neither they have a mindset, nor they have the motivation, nor they have the involvement in this. None of them work in the international collaboration. So therefore, they are still sitting in their back room and they are still looking at the old domain of science and all. And they are not, you know, I can tell you, I am a member of the FIST committee for the Department of Science and Technology. The type of project we get for R&D and the education development, there is no challenging problem which has been coming. So therefore, when they are asking for giving fund for R&D development, on what ground we are going to give R&D development? I think we have to come out of the last couple of decade, and we have to advance ourselves and come to the domain where the international science is at the moment standing. And all the private sectors, all the public sectors, they are catering to the international technology, and there, you know, they also do material exported, and all the raw material are going out, and our own machines are going out, and our own scientific brains are also going out. But our own scientific brains are going out, and so therefore, friends, just try to get yourselves I am just telling my friends of the university, my friends who are sitting in the policy development and policy making, they must make it is mandatory that all the universities, the colleges, the institutions, they are answerable to the fund that is being given to them. When we are framing it as SNT, STI policy in 2020, obviously with the background or the background information of our last decade, I don't think we'll be able to match ourselves to the international standard. So therefore, at the one hand, we have to be Atmanirbhar. And once we have to be Atmanirbhar, we have to get our cultivators, we have to get our agriculture is to the international domain. They not only have to be catered to us, they have to also sell their goods in the international market. So therefore, friends, please look at that horizon, which is much better, showing a much better picture for you, and not only the government colleges and all. That is not the domain we are looking at, but those are the ones which are for the people who cannot cope up with what is happening today. And because there is a meteoric change and meteoric development in all fronts, whether it is civilization, whether it is sustenance, it is the question of sustainability, it is the question of urbanization, it is the question of industrialization, it is the question of machinery, manufacturing, the product, research, whether it is bioscience, science and humanity, whatever you talk about. So therefore, we have to come to that level. All the policymakers should change their mindset. This is a government protocol that has to change. And this is where our higher-ups who are sitting in Delhi, our friends and our mentors who are sitting in Delhi should take it up in that level and should make even the state governments to listen to them. Otherwise, stop funding them in science and technology. This is very important. I am becoming very emphatic. I know this is not going good with many of my friends, but then there is no other way. Only when you have a hunger, then only you will be eating. So therefore, friends, go for challenging problems, challenging jobs, and I'm sure a mindset will change. So when it is the renaissance has to come so far as the education, the research, the development, urbanization, everywhere we are looking for a renaissance, and I think we have already started doing it. Our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji has already started looking into this direction, and he has become a heartthrob of the international community, whether it is the politicians, the developments, and the entire international forum. So he is one of the main contributor, and he is the driving force in front of us. He is our leader. He has to take it up to that level. And I think the ministers who are sitting right now, they are much better literate, and they're more equipped with the data and technology, and they are much bigger visionaries than we had earlier. So therefore, my appeal will be to them, sir, please put this across to the states, put this across to the policymakers who are sitting in the district, who are sitting in the states, and let them make the universities and institutions more pushed up in the up, because that is what you call bottom up. Bottom up is the first thing which we are talking about in this policy framing. So this is one thing which has to be done. Policymakers are to take a huge leadership role, and at the same time, all of us who are sitting in the institution of eminence should also put forth our vision and views to them wherever, in whichever committees we are sitting, and we can make our voice heard, and then only this will work. Friends, all of us has to take the responsibility equally and work for our young friends so that they should not be at the receiving end. And let us all proceed forward and take our young friends also with us, and so that they also have a better future. They have a lot of dreams. Let their dreams come to reality. Thank you very much.
So I think we had a rather long day, and we had a rather long day, and I'm sure we will have a lot of questions. And so Shiprasad ji, can you share your email address so that hello? Yeah. See, I mean, yes, please. Yes, please.
Can I quickly add 1 or 2 points?
I mean, we will add, but just
Hello.
no, for 1 minute. Yeah. So my dear friends, so I have, so the email address has been flashed on your screen. So please share your views and your opinion, and particularly your questions. We will write back to you. We'll talk to the experts, and we will try to get back to you with the questions. And so I think we will call it a day. And but before we call it a day, we Professor Chatterjee, our other expert, wanted to have his view. So we will listen to him, and please express your opinions, comments, and other things. You can write to that email, and we will try to connect you to the experts and the relevant experts. I mean, may not be necessarily the two experts who are here. So yes, Professor Chatterjee.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, Professor Chatterjee.
Hello.
Yes, Professor Chatterjee.
Just I have one or two very quick points.
Yes.
Particularly with regard to the breakthrough research, the more important issue is we must have a very good risk culture that we don't have. For example, we know that for detection of COVID, we generally use qPCR. But very recently, there is a detection procedure which is digital job computerized PCR, which is much statistically strong and give very precise results. So that is one of the issues. You must have a risk culture in your research. Similarly, in agriculture, we must don't have the idea regarding production village. We must have the idea regarding the productive village. And in this context, the agriculture processing is one of the major important issues which should be coupled with the particularly how they extend storage facility, particularly cold storage. And
okay, Debasis, I think your video, I mean, voice is getting kind of cracked. So, I mean, unfortunately, we are not able to listen to you, and this is what some of my panelists have also written. So, I think we would be able to listen to Dr. Chatterjee at some other point of time, surely. So, I will also share my own view in a minute. See, I mean, we want to be Atmanirbhar Bharat, but before Bharat becomes Atmanirbhar, we as citizens also need to be Atmanirbhar. If we think that the government is going to take care of us from the cradle to the grave, then we will never be Atmanirbhar because we are depending on the Sarkari Naukri to be given to us. And then, once we are craving for a Sarkari Naukri or something else, we are by definition falling in line. So how will you have out of the box thinking when you are within the box and you confine yourself within the box, or rather the frog in a well syndrome? So the idea is India will become Atmanirbhar, but for that we as citizens also need to be Atmanirbhar. We need to think of where to get jobs for ourselves rather than worrying about jobs in the employment exchange. The reason why some of these employment exchange, I mean, things are, if you think of it, when you have an application for a kind of, for a group D position or for a clerical position, for one position we have about, for 20 positions we have about 20 lakh applications. So, in terms of probabilistic distribution, you can be rest assured that nobody will get the job. Nobody in the sense, you will not get the job. So the idea is to become Atmanirbhar and try to get jobs for yourself. And the easiest thing to do is to gain skills. Gain skills, update yourselves. Wherever you have time, take online courses, short online certified courses. Get your CV updated in new skills. Get in artificial intelligence, machine learning, new computational tools, new plotting tools, so that you stand out, right? And think out of the box. So I think this is my view, and this view has been gathered by listening to the experts for various scientists which I have been organizing. So as they say that, you gather knowledge also by listening to experts. So I think I have also gained some news, some views, which I thought I will share with you. And so with this, I request Mr. Sri Prasad to give us a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Inda. Before summing up the program, I would like to request Dr. Jajadi Nayak. Dr. Jajadi is here with us from the beginning. So I'm requesting to Jajadi to just give his sum up this total meeting, and he gave what points he is collected from this meeting, and what he would like to include in this draft suggestion from Vigyan Bharati. So I am requesting to Dr. Jajadi Nayak to say a few words, and after that I can go for the vote of thanks. Dr. Jajadi ji.
Yes, Sri Prasad. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, Jajadi.
Yeah. Just could you repeat? I could not. There is a audio breaking.
No. I'm requesting you to just sum up with your viewpoints about today's meeting, and after that we can go for we can conclude.
Yeah. So definitely it was nice interactions, and thank you both professors, senior professors who had actually guided this meeting. But what I wanted from the more from the today's meeting is that participation, young participation, that is the students' role. But I didn't find many students asking questions. Although we have to, we could have benefited much. They should have been benefited much. The student problem is definitely a problem for India. So it's a supervisor. It might be a supervisor problem. It might be basically some funding issue. They do not get sometimes they do not get fellowship in time. Mostly this research basically UGC CSR fellows, and also earlier people tried to find out their own research problem, and nowadays I don't know whether students find out their own research problem, or the most of the cases that I find the supervisor generally frame a question or frame a problem, and the students generally work out. So yes, time is a constant, because when there is a 5-year program, so one has to complete within time. That might be a constant on the students. So because sometimes we think that because of that or some sort of reasons, somehow the creativity is not being nurtured in that way that what generally we expect. So, but above all, today's interaction was really extremely, it is an extremely good discussion, and I have also noted few more points which I would definitely implement in this draft proposal. And apart from that, I would request the professors and also students, they should give 1 or 2 line their suggestion, so that sometimes we may forget some important points. They may give those suggestions so that we can include those points in the draft proposal. Basically, the draft proposal is made by Vigyan Bharati by consulting so many stakeholders. So we will provide this draft proposal to the Department of Science and Technology, and then there is the expert committee, and they would review all those things, and then they would also, according to them, they would implement certain points. So our effort, basically Vigyan Bharati effort is very, we have a very honest effort to try to accommodate large number of advices, consultations regarding this upcoming science and technology policy, so that we can have some holistic development for this country, or integral development of this country. And yes, there was good discussion on the agriculture sector, agriculture sector, how to translate all those things in the real world. That is a challenging scenario for India right now, because we are facing all sorts of things nowadays, and whole world also basically has seen a technological revolution since last 10 years, in the last decade. So in this juncture, definitely we hope this policy would basically provide us a hope, provide a hope for us. And today's discussion, definitely it's a fantastic discussion. And my request to the organizer, maybe Professor Datta or somebody should communicate a mail to our guests and to students they should, so that they can give their suggestions, one or two pinpointed suggestions, so that we can include those things in our upcoming draft proposal. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jajati.
So thank you, Jajadiji. So we are going to conclude this session. Before that, I am requesting to all the participants, mainly our young bloods over here, those who are doing the research or PhD scholars. So mainly we are what happening in our youth age or young age. We are mainly not involving in much this type of policy making. Government is always doing their policies. Senior scientists are involving in that, or bureaucrats are involving in that. So here is a chance to involve or make your sound, make your noise to reach up to them. What type of suggestions we have to include in this type of policies, because this policy is going to implement in the future only. After 5 or 10 years, this is going to. So when we are going into the actual work, these policies are going to guide us. So under these policies, we have to work. So my request to all the participants over here, Vigyan Bharati or Government of India is giving such a opportunity or platform to give your suggestions or your voice to make this new policy. So we have to involve in that much. We have to read out the previous policies also available in the websites of Department of Science and Technology, and already what draft policies they are making, that is also available in the website. Please go through that policies, and you make your own suggestions, and you can write to Vigyan Bharati. Vigyan Bharati also part of this huge exercise to make the suggestions. So you can send to Vigyan Bharati, or you can directly send to Ministry of Science and Technology. So be part of this huge exercise to make a better science technology policy for a better and future India. So with here, I would like to say my thanks to Professor Shankar Kumar Nathji from IIT Kharagpur. He delivered a very wonderful session over here. And thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And Professor Debasis Chatterjee, Debasis के साथ very long association I have. I know him very well. So I am conveying my thanks to Professor Debasis. And here with us, our senior office bearers of Vigyan Bharati, our Vice President Sharbari ma'am is here, and our executive committee members Hemendra Pandeyji, Raknesh Pandeyji, and Mayuri Dattji, and Arpatarana Patradi, and so many other office bearers of Vigyan Bharati is here. So I would like to say thanks to all our Vigyan Bharati members, and after that I would convey my gratitude and thanks to all the research scholars, those who are attended in this session, and point out their viewpoints in this session. So I already shared our Vigyan Bharati's email ID and our this suggestion policy leading committee Sharbari ma'am's email ID also. You can write to that both mail IDs. Your suggestion you can send. We are requesting for that. So once again, I'm saying thanks to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of your session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to receiving your comments and opinions from all. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Chalo, Baba.